It's Patrick Hutzel from IntensiveCareHotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives for families of critically ill patients in intensive care so that you can make informed decisions, have peace of mind, real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. This is another episode of Your Questions Answered. And in last week's episode, I answered another question from one of our readers. And the question last week was part 8 of my 57-year-old dad has been in intensive care with cardiomyopathy and pneumonia for 5 weeks. He's still in an induced coma and still doesn't have a tracheostomy. And that was part 8. You can check out the answer to last week's question by clicking on the link below this video. In this week's episode of Your Questions Answered, I want to answer the next question from our reader Gary. And the question this week is part 9 of my 57-year-old dad has been in intensive care with cardiomyopathy and pneumonia for 5 weeks. He's still in an induced coma and still doesn't have a tracheostomy. Help. This series of questions from Gary are excerpts from numerous one-on-one phone and email counseling and consulting sessions with me over a 2-month period. Previous questions from Gary you can access from part 1 to part 8. Again, you can access them below this video by clicking on the links. Gary, his dad and his family went through many challenges while his dad was in intensive care, and I felt very privileged helping Gary through this difficult time in his and his dad's life. Gary writes, "Hi Patrick, I just got off the phone with ICU. The consultant has gone with the patient to another hospital, so he's not available to speak with me right now. I spoke with the nurse and lack of communication once again. I was told that a medical decision this morning has been made that my dad will not be resuscitated if he goes into cardiac arrest. Apparently, I have no say. Things are not looking good. I spent the last few days up and down to the hospital to speak with the consultant, etc. My dad is in a very, very poor condition. Perhaps I underestimated how sick he was. I simply don't know. As he looked to be okay at face value as when he first was conscious and looked to be improving. Apparently they will not remove the do not resuscitate status from his file. Apparently it's a medical decision and the family cannot overrule it. As of this morning, I have just been told that his condition is grave and that he most likely has only 7 to 10 days left. I simply can't believe it and I feel totally overwhelmed with emotions. I attempted to the best of my abilities to ask the questions we spoke about the other day, to which I got very vague answers or I was redirected by other information, if you know what I mean. His lungs are incredibly stiff and difficult to ventilate. He has another bad infection in his lungs, probably sepsis. He is on 80% of oxygen and the ventilator is set at 28 breaths per minute. His heart is really weak because of the cardiomyopathy. And his blood pressure is really low. He's on the butamine, 16 micrograms per kilo per minute, and I think that's the right dose. They said that's double the dose from normally. He has never been off the butamine apart from a short break a few weeks ago. He's on strong antibiotics for the infection once again. His ejection fraction, which is the contractility of the heart, is poor. His kidneys, while still functioning, are getting weaker. His liver is also affected and showing early signs of failure. They repeatedly told me that there is nothing more that they can do for him. They are still treating him but won't do anything new. I mentioned all of the treatment options that we spoke about, like ECMO, ventricular assist device, dialysis, heart transplant, etc. But they said he's too weak for that and he wouldn't be a candidate. I asked them several times, is my dad in the best facility? And can I move him somewhere else? To which they responded with, if he wasn't in this ICU, he probably would have died weeks ago and he would not have had a tracheostomy done. I'm absolutely shell-shocked and don't know how to comprehend what I have just been told. I have tried a few times now to state my authority, but they keep shooting me down. And I wonder, can I request his medical records and charts? Maybe if I can get an independent second opinion. Best wishes from Gary. So here's my response, which is basically a summary of the phone conversation that took place after Gary sent this email. Hi Gary, I'm very sorry to hear what you continue to go through. The news you are getting from this ICU unfortunately are not getting any better, and I believe this is all a result of their poor approach and lack of planning to your dad's treatment right from the start. You and your family are fighting a very lonely battle with the ICU misleading you one day after another. First off, Gary, the ICU can't just issue a DNR or do not resuscitate order without getting your consent after they have consulted you and given you time to think. They have never been honest or proactive in their efforts to save your dad's life. It's all BS, Gary, what they're doing there. Of course, you will have a say. They can't just say or decide that without consulting or consenting you. It also sounds to me like the cardiomyopathy is the problem and not the sepsis. A cardiomyopathy also makes it more likely that your dad might go into cardiac arrest. They are at their wits' end without having tried all the right things in the first place. Once again, they should have referred him to a proper ICU so that the cardiomyopathy could have been treated properly. I think it's very hypocritical of them to say that if he wasn't in this ICU, that your dad would have already died. That's a whole lot of BS, and excuse my language here. Any other ICU would have at least informed you about other treatment options such as ECMO, ventricular assist device, or heart transplant, and he would have had the opportunity to get these advanced treatment options in another, more specialized and experienced ICU setting. To get a handle on the things that are currently happening, Gary, you need to ask them for their hospital and for their ICU policy regarding NFR, not for resuscitation, or DNR, do not resuscitate orders. Also, ask them for their withdrawal of treatment policy. What they're doing is often against, or is most likely against, their hospital and their ICU policy, and often against the law if they make patients, or if they make your dad DNR without your consent. I've also sent you some links into patient advocacy groups that you can check out in your country. If you search for Patient Advocacy Ireland, you get more results as well. Also, get the consultant on the phone and get him to talk to you first. Given that the consultant is not even in the hospital and has left with another patient, speaks volumes about how serious he takes his duty of care in his 3-bed ICU, where he doesn't know how to treat patients with cardiomyopathy properly. And even worse, if he doesn't seek outside help to get your dad in the best possible facility. He doesn't want to talk to you because he knows that you want answers to your questions. Don't give up and stay positive. You should also be able to request his medical notes, as you are your dad's next of kin and you have medical power of attorney. You usually get access to the medical records under the Freedom of Information Act. As far as I can see, your dad is not and has never been in the best facility, and I have stated my reasons why repeatedly. Your dad is way too young to be given up on, and of course they keep shooting you down because it would be extremely embarrassing for them to refer him to another ICU, given that it took them 4 weeks to do a tracheostomy to start off with. Any other ICU would look at your dad's case in disgust and would wonder why they didn't refer him in the first place. ECMO, VAD, heart transplant, etc. is something that is most effective when cardiomyopathy is first diagnosed, and treatment can still be optimized. The combination of sepsis and cardiomyopathy is not a good one. However, if the IV antibiotics work, he might have a chance. Given that you are saying that your dad has never been off the dobutamine is a clear sign to me that he's got chronic cardiomyopathy, and therefore ECMO, ventricular assist device, or heart transplant would have been the only options to potentially save his life. By the ICU not telling you about those options in the first place, they have not acted in your dad's best interest, and again, from my perspective, it's negligent. I'm not surprised that he's now on double strength of dobutamine, because his heart keeps deteriorating and weakening. I'm also not overly surprised that they are now talking about the liver being affected as well. Poor cardiac or heart function often leads to reduced blood flow in the liver, and therefore the liver may shut down. Also, many weeks of heavy sedation with midazolam as well as morphine or fentanyl, and with those drugs being metabolized in the liver, may have impacted negatively on the liver as well. On top of all of that, 80% of oxygen on the ventilator is a concern as well. Keep in mind, the air we are breathing on room air is 21%, and the ongoing deterioration and stiffness of the lungs is most likely a byproduct of the pneumonia and ongoing congestion of the heart from the cardiomyopathy. The ongoing congestion of the heart will push fluids back into the lungs, causing stiffness and reduced functionality. The ongoing pneumonia is another concern, of course. I'm also not surprised that his kidneys are getting weaker as well. Many critically ill patients in intensive care eventually go into kidney failure and need intermittent hemodialysis. I strongly argue that your dad would have had a fair chance for recovery, adequate therapy in another ICU, and they are playing on your inexperience by trying to distract you from the real issues. But I also believe that they are inexperienced too. I don't believe that they value your dad's life, nor do they respect your wishes, and I think it's absolutely disgraceful. Again, Gary, I would be very happy to talk to them over the phone or Skype. However, I also understand that they are very reluctant to look outside of their 3-bed ICU. All I can say again is that it's disgraceful and embarrassing in how they are and have handled your dad's case. It's simply negligent. Let me know what you want to do next, and I also have put some links in the email in regards to patient advocacy services and patient focus groups in Ireland. So, I wish you and your family all the best, and we'll speak tomorrow. Take care. So, how can you become the best advocate for your critically ill loved one? Make informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power, and influence quickly whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. You get to that all-important feeling of making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power, and influence when you download your free instant impact report now by entering your email below. In your free instant impact report, you learn quickly how to make informed decisions, get peace of mind, real power and real control, and how you can influence decision making fast whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Your free instant impact report gives you in-depth insight that you must know whilst your loved one is critically ill or is even dying in intensive care. Sign up and download your free instant impact report now by entering your email below. In your free instant impact report, you learn how to speak the secret intensive care language so that the doctors and the nurses know straight away that you are an insider and that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care. In your free report, you will also discover how to ask the doctors and the nurses the right questions. Discover the many competing interests in intensive care and how your critically ill loved one's treatment may depend on those competing interests. How to eliminate fear, frustration, stress, struggle, and vulnerability, even if your loved one is dying. You get 5 mind-blowing tips and strategies helping you to get on the right path to making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power, and influence in your situation. You'll get real-world examples that you can easily adapt to your and your critically ill loved one's situation. How to stop being intimidated by the intensive care team and how you will be seen as equals. You'll get crucial behind-the-scenes insight so that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care and how you need to manage doctors and nurses in intensive care, and it's not what you think. Thank you for tuning into this week's Your Questions Answered episode, and I'll see you again next week in another update. Make sure you also check out our blog section for more tips and strategies, or simply send me an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. Or you can call me, find international phone numbers on our contacts tab. Also, check out our ebook section where you get more ebooks, videos and audio recordings, and where you can also get one-on-one counseling and consulting with me via Skype, over the phone, or via email by clicking on the tabs on the top of the website. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I'll see you again next week in another update.